We talked about allocation discovery. Now we're going to talk about planning discovery, right? Because as more investors are adding crypto or adding Bitcoin to their portfolios, whether that's Bitcoin, whether that's crypto, whether that's an ETF, they're adding more of it. They're seeing the volatility, they're seeing what happens, they're thinking through those investment theses and learning a whole lot more about what Bitcoin and crypto are. Now they're starting to go down the road of planning. Well, what does planning entail? Planning might entail, what else am I going to do in my portfolio or my clients' portfolios in addition to having Bitcoin or Bitcoin exposure or crypto exposure? What it also entails for me is talking about taxes, and this can be how you're going to pay your taxes on crypto gains. It could also be thinking through things like ETH staking and how does that affect taxes. It could be tax loss harvesting. What's the difference between my ability to harvest taxes with a Bitcoin spot ETF versus with Bitcoin, and actually have those real conversations. If you buy Bitcoin and the price goes down, you can sell it, take your loss, and buy back at a lower basis. If that happens with the ETF, you're not allowed to do that. Those kinds of conversations. So there's how it fits overall in your portfolio and what else you're doing in the portfolio, and those conversations. There's taxes. There's estate planning. If you're talking about the ETFs, that's pretty easy. Your heirs are going to get whatever's in your brokerage accounts or your retirement accounts or whatever it might be. But if we're talking about owning Bitcoin, if we're talking about owning ETH and other crypto assets, if we're talking about wallets now, we're starting to talk about estate planning. And why is this becoming more prevalent? It's becoming more prevalent because with the ETF, we kind of had this stamp of approval from the SEC, even though they won't admit it. And so we're seeing more and more people through their advisors, through their advisory accounts, through their brokerage accounts, their custodial accounts, own or have some sort of exposure to Bitcoin or crypto or other crypto assets. And something interesting that I'm seeing within the planning world is thinking through more about how you allocate to Bitcoin in particular, especially with the ETFs. So I've seen, people, obviously, the 1 to 5% allocation of Bitcoin within the portfolio is something that we're seeing relatively often. But then what we're also seeing is what else are we doing in the portfolio? And then what else that we're doing in the portfolio, I've seen things like, okay, we're going to allocate maybe 10% to Bitcoin exposure, but we're also going to have maybe something like an annuity, a fixed annuity that's going to provide income. So if you have someone who's at or near retirement and they can't necessarily handle the volatility, but they're going to live a really long time. They might live from wherever they are right now, 65 or 70 years old, up into their 80s or 90s. Well, Bitcoin still maybe makes sense for them. Yes, you have the volatility, but you also, under the store of value investment thesis, think, okay, these people, when they're getting their 70s or 80s, inflation is going to be rampant. They don't maybe have the ability to earn more money. They have to have something to offset, and that's where Bitcoin fits in. But a 10% allocation might too much volatility, so you give them something fixed, some income that's going to come in every month that's going to help them pay the bills, so they don't have to sell Bitcoin or don't have to sell other assets. That's the kind of planning discovery that we're seeing, is thinking through more than just, I want to own Bitcoin and I hope it goes up in price. They're thinking through, where does this fit in the portfolio? What does this mean for my future? What does this mean for my future investments, my future spending, my retirement, my college savings, whatever it might be? Where does it fit in the portfolio? What am I doing? Why am I holding something like Bitcoin? Why am I holding crypto? It's no longer because I expect it to go up 1000x. It might be because I need to store value for when there's inflation. Or it might be, if you're investing in other crypto assets in ETH, I want to be investing now for the next Amazon, for what is the next Google. I want to be finding those things. And that's where investing a little bit in crypto might help, because if you have younger investors, you might be thinking through something like that. So we talked before about allocation discovery. Now we're talking about planning discovery. So it's going beyond, should I just put Bitcoin or crypto in a portfolio? It's where should I put it? How should I put it? What else do I need to think about? Taxes, estate, custody, and what else is going on in my portfolio to maybe offset some of that volatility. And that's, again, where we see Bitcoin and crypto becoming real asset classes and real investable assets and part of viable portfolios.